said he was a certain white man's son. But here she was, setting out to walk 2 miles at night by herself to keep her pledge to him at the church. Her father, more tolerant than her mother, decided that his daughter was not going alone, nor was she going to walk to her wedding. So he hitched up the buggy and went with her. Nobody much was there. Her brother Jim slipped in just before she stood on the floor. So she said her words and took her stand for life, and went off to a cabin on a plantation with him. She never forgot how the late moon shone that night as his 200 pounds of bone and muscle shoved open the door and lifted her in his arms over the doorsill. That cabin on a white man's plantation had to be all for the present. She had been pointedly made to know that the Potts plantation was nothing to her anymore. Her father soon softened and was satisfied to an extent, but her mother, never. To her dying day, her daughter's husband was never John Hurston to her. He was always that yellow bastard. 4 years after my mother's marriage, and during her 3rd pregnancy, she got to thinking of the 5 acres of clingstone peaches on her father's place, and the yearning was so strong that she walked 3 miles to get a few. She was holding the corners of her apron with one hand and picking peaches with the other when her mother spied her and ordered her off the place. It was after his marriage that my father began to want things. Plantation life began to irk and bind him. His over-the-creek existence was finished. What else was there for a man like him? He left his wife and 3 children behind and went out to seek and see. Months later, he pitched into the hurly-burly of South Florida, so he heard about folks building a town all out of colored people. It seemed like a good place to go. Later on, he was to be elected mayor of Eatonville for 3 terms and to write the local laws. The village of Eatonville is still governed by the laws formulated by my father. The town clerk still consults a copy of the original printing, which seems to be the only one in existence now. I have tried every way I know how to get this copy from my library, but so far it has not been possible. I had it once, but the town clerk came and took it back. When my mother joined Papa a year after he had settled in Eatonville, she brought some quilts, her feather bed, and bedstead. That was all they had in the house that night. 2 burlap bags were stuffed with Spanish moss for the 2 older children to sleep on. The youngest child was taken into the bed with them. So these 2 began their new life. Both of them swore that things were going to better, and it came to pass as they said. They bought land, built a roomy house, planted their acres, and reaped. Children kept coming, more mouths to feed, and more feet for shoes. But neither of them seemed to have minded that. In fact, my father not only boasted among other men about his house full of young'uns, but he boasted that he had never allowed his wife to go out and hit a lick of work for anybody a day in her life. Of weaknesses he had his share, and I know that my mother was very unhappy at times. But neither of them ever made any move to call the thing off. In fact, on 2 occasions, I heard my father threaten to kill my mother if she ever started towards the gate to leave him. He was outraged and angry one day when she said lightly that if he did not want to do for her and his children, there was another man over the fence waiting for his job. That expression is a folk saying, and Papa had heard it used hundreds of times by other women, but he was outraged at hearing it from Mama. She definitely understood, before he got through carrying on, that the saying was not for her lips. On another occasion, Papa got the idea of escorting the wife of one of his best friends and having the friend escort Mama. But Mama seemed to enjoy it more than Papa thought she ought to, though she had opposed the idea.